Hey, Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the social climbing series. By the way, happy fall. It is officially October. I love the fall, I'm obsessed. But let me know in the comments section what beauty routines you're doing for the fall, what your beauty hobbies are going to be, and we will be talking more about that over in the Patreon. But I want to talk about this concept of corrective promotion because YouTuber Chrissie talks a lot about that, and I see a lot of holes in her talking points. So I think one of the first social climbing mistakes that we see some women make is begging other people to correctively promote them. We saw a lot of unambiguous black women begging Hollywood to promote them. And then, there might be 1 out of 10 dark-skinned black actresses or rappers, and then they complain about those women not being proper promotion. Remember how the one girl was in Romeo and Juliet? They said that wasn't good enough promotion, even though it was a black girl in her natural state. And then you have Lupita Nyong'o, and you got people saying that she's not sexy enough, so that's not good enough promotion. Then you have dark-skinned black female rappers, and of course, that's not good enough promotion. So my question for Black YouTube is, what exactly is the correct way to promote yourself, and whose responsibility is it to promote you? Because this is an example of bad social climbing, and I'm glad the exoticals are not falling for this. One of the worst things you could do is be codependent on somebody else and trying to ride somebody else's coattails so they can make you look good. Do you hear the entitlement? It's this mindset of, oh, hey, it's your responsibility to make me look good. It's your responsibility to make me look feminine. It's your responsibility to make me look desirable. And you guys already know what I tell the exoticals. I always tell you guys that the way that we can promote our collective image is by you guys representing yourselves. I can't represent everybody. I can only represent myself. I don't have the same experiences as all of the other exoticals. So that's why one of the advantages we have, at least on YouTube, is all of us are creating our own channels. The exoticals are stepping up and we are deciding, hey, I'm going to represent myself. Hey, I'm a Caribbean exotical. Let me talk about that. Hey, I'm dark skinned. Let me talk about that. Hey, I have a child. Let me talk about being a mother and my experience with that. So that's one of the advantages that the exoticals have always had is we never look to other people to promote us or make us look good. Because anytime you do that, you're really putting that person on a pedestal. What you're saying is, you have more power than me, so give me some of your power. You owe me a slice of the pie. You owe me a slice of your power. And it's like, no, nobody has to make you look beautiful. Nobody has to try to promote you as feminine. And by the way, I thought that dark-skinned black women didn't like being the tokens. So what happened to that? So first they're saying they don't like being a token. They don't want to be the dark-skinned sidekick. And then now they're saying, oh no, you got to correctively promote us. So it's like if you do promote them in the media, they'll complain about whatever the promotion is, but then if you don't, then they'll complain about feeling excluded. Also, it's interesting that you see unambiguous black women like Chrissie complaining about feeling excluded when it comes to promotion. Meanwhile, she has an entire channel that is an exclusive space for dark-skinned black women. So clearly she doesn't think exclusion is wrong. Exclusion is not wrong unless you exclude her, of course. So do you see the hypocrisy? So if unambiguous black women have their own exclusive YouTube channels, why can't Hollywood or these different movie producers, why can't they have their own exclusive versions of media? So the biggest flaw with her corrective promotion talking point is she thinks that she can just be a dictator over other random white people, random non-black people that she doesn't know, has never met. She thinks that she can shout from the mountaintops and shout from the abyss of the internet. And that if she complains loud enough, then hopefully someone will pity her and other dark-skinned black women enough to put them in a movie. And by the way, if we're talking about corrective promotion in terms of Hollywood, a lot of the biggest black Hollywood producers are actually MLS people. So I just want to put that out there. Jordan Peele, MLS man. Keegan-Michael Key, MLS man. Kenya Barris, MLS man. So remember how they complained a few years about Blackish, the TV show? And they were like, oh, they're colorists. Everybody there is light-skinned. Kenya Barris is light-skinned. He's an MLS man. So I'm not surprised that he is correctively promoting MLS people. So another social climbing mistake that we see from unambiguous women like Chrissie is that they look to us exoticals as their competition rather than their allies. And so then, when you have these people in Hollywood who have the opportunity, they can cast unambiguous black women in their movies and stuff if they wanted to, but you got all of us MLS people who have a lot of traumas from unambiguous women with the same mindset as Chrissie, and then you wonder why they make shows like Blackish where it's all MLS people. You wonder why they make shows like Grownish where it's mainly featuring light-skinned black women like Chloe and Halle, or people who don't fit that unambiguous phenotype. So part of that is because a lot of times they bite the hand that feeds them, if that makes sense. They bite the hand that feeds them. They're hyper competitive. Like in the case of Chrissie's channel, she tells her audience that everybody's her competition. Light skinned women are your competition. Oh, you got to watch out for these non-black women. Oh, they're your competition. Okay, so that's not the mindset of somebody that I want to correctively promote. I wouldn't want to correctively promote that. By the way, you guys already know what I've said on this YouTube channel. If I ever become really rich off this YouTube channel, oh, I'm going straight to becoming a producer. I will go straight into creating movies, and I will create movies with all exoticals in the cast. And yes, I do want to have my movies on Tubi. I don't care what you say about Tubi. I think Tubi is a great place to get started as a producer. So that's what I would do. I'm just saying, if I ever became like a super rich, like multimillionaire off this channel, the first thing I would do is use my LLC to create actual productions, and I would start off on Tubi, and then I would like work my way up so I can get some movies onto Netflix. And I would be promoting all exoticals in the cast. So notice how YouTubers like Chrissie, they talk all this big shit. They say, oh, I want to have corrective promotion. But then they themselves don't even have any ideas on how to correctively promote. If you look at Chrissie's history with her promoting unambiguous dark-skinned black women, she had the DDS magazine. I think it was called like Divine Dark Skin. So she had that magazine. You would think that that's enough, right? You would think that that was great. No, not only did she mainly promote dark-skinned women who benefited from isms. If you don't believe me, go back and look at it if you still have access to it. She was mainly promoting dark-skinned women who benefited from things like featureism and texturism. Not to mention the fact that the magazine doesn't even exist anymore. So it's like, okay, all this talk about corrective promotion just for you to cancel out the corrective promotion that you were doing yourself. And this is another bad social climbing tactic of women with inferiority complexes. They always feel like their own ideas are inferior. They feel like their own work ethic or their own solutions are inferior. So they look to those who they feel are more powerful than them, such as white men or just non-black men in general. They look to all these other people to give them a handout. Imagine spending your life begging for social breadcrumbs of validation, begging for the breadcrumbs of beauty, begging for breadcrumbs and compliments. Imagine creating a whole YouTube channel because you're begging to be perceived as feminine. Bitch, what the fuck? I'm already feminine. I don't have to create a whole YouTube channel and complain about not being perceived as feminine. That's not going to make me be perceived as more feminine. Have you ever wondered why a lot of exoticals have feminine privilege, whereas some other women do not? Well, it's because, first of all, we don't have the same inferiority complexes that lead to hypermasculine behavior. Having this competitive mindset, that's more of a masculine type of behavior. Having a catty mindset, having a violent mindset, fighting women over bundles, macing babies, jumping up on tables and shaking your ass because you're so desperate for attention, because it must be your ass because it ain't your face. You can't get attention off your face card. Your face card has declined, and so then you want to jump on the bar and shake your ass. Okay, all of that type of behavior, this desperate behavior, this catty behavior, almost like this socially violent behavior, this socially aggressive behavior, all of those things are associated with masculinity. And I also want to point out that in the unambiguous pro-black community, a lot of them actually have a male-centered view of corrective promotion. The solution is always a man. The solution to their problems is a man. Because, for example, who does Chrissie want to correctively promote them? Hollywood, which is run by men. The music industry, which is run by men. Media, which was created and run by men. The dating and marriage market, who's the one proposing? Men. So do you see that bad social climbing tactic right there? She doesn't take initiative, and she doesn't want her audience to take initiative. That's the biggest thing that makes me not take the black empowerment space seriously. They talk all this shit about how, oh, I want black women to like succeed and be powerful and be perceived as feminine, but then they never encourage their own audience to start their own channels. 250,000 followers. Some of these women have 200,000 followers, 250,000 black women watching their channel. Do you know how much more powerful it would be if 250,000 black women started their own YouTube channels and then represented themselves and then, showed off their own femininity or whatever? Oh, but no, that's not a good solution because women like Chrissie, they don't want to have dark-skinned black women competing with them. I noticed that in Chrissie's case, Chrissie is actually most threatened by other dark-skinned black women. She's actually the most threatened by other pretty unambiguous dark-skinned black women who are thin and in shape. Remember how she talked shit about those dark-skinned pretty women that were trying to go into Chris Brown's section? She actually made fun of those women for experiencing colorism. And she said, oh, well, I don't feel sorry for you because, that's what you get. You thought being pretty would get you into the section. You thought being pretty would take you farther than it actually did. So she's attempting to humble women of her own phenotype. And that's exactly where the hyper-competitive mindset gets you. That's why it's a bad social climbing tactic. Viewing everybody as your competition, that's a scarcity mindset. Also, what is the prize that you win? So, for example, in Chrissie's case, she says she wants corrective promotion. She wants black women to be seen as feminine and desirable. Desirable to who? To men? To white men? To black men? She wants dark-skinned black women to be seen as feminine in the eyes of who? Also, what is the prize that you win for your corrective promotion? What is the correct way to be promoted? Show examples. And then also, if you look at the examples on her YouTube channel, go look at her old videos of her showing what corrective promotion is. Usually it's a dark-skinned black woman being romanticized, and she's kind of like in this interracial relationship with a white man. And I will go ahead and show some images and examples of what she perceives as corrective promotion. It's basically, she wants unambiguous dark-skinned black women to have pretty privilege. And it's like, okay, they already do. There are already women that have pretty privilege. So again, with the scarcity mindset, nothing is ever enough. And also, I am very distrustful of content creators who want to discuss privilege and social climbing when that content creator themselves does not even identify as having the privilege or social climbing. So have you ever noticed that if you go on Chrissie's channel, whenever she talks about her personal background, she doesn't have any success stories of her own social climbing journey. She doesn't have any success stories of her own pretty privilege and, what that has gotten her in her life. If you look at the exotical sector, go and watch some of the exotical channels. You'll see that the women over here, we got women they're doing acting. There are women over here who are doing modeling. They're influencers. They have tens of thousands of followers on their Instagram pages. You've got women over in this space who have natural hair TikTok pages. So we actually have something to back up our shit in the exotical sector. But I don't see the same energy from these hotep black women. How are you going to be a hotep and then you don't even like your own fathers, first of all? Let's talk about that as well. Being dysfunctional, having a dysfunctional community and a dysfunctional family and a dysfunctional mindset and this scarcity mindset. Oh, everybody's my enemy. I got to compete with everybody. Oh, I want to be seen as desirable, but not in the black male gaze, only in the white male gaze because, they have more power. Oh, I want to try to get into multicultural dating spaces while simultaneously hating multicultural women, aka exoticals. That's another bad social climbing tactic. Instead of them learning from us, we are the closest people that they have access to learn about multiculturalism. You literally have women over here who are black. They're part black. They're half black. They're a quarter black. So we are literally their closest bridge into multiculturalism. But instead of learning from us, you got women like Chrissie who are like, oh no, they're our competition. The exoticals are our competition. Okay, so then you're not going to make it to the top then if nobody's helping you get there. Nobody's going to correctively promote you if you make enemies everywhere you turn. And then you try to cyber slurp the white man. And then I saw a comment where this one unambiguous woman is like, oh, well, we don't want to be the standard of beauty. We just don't want to be mistreated. I'm sorry. Have you been to Earth before? Have you dealt with human beings before? Because there's no way that you can expect other human beings to treat you perfectly 24/7. No matter what, no matter who you are, no matter how pretty you are, no matter how much of a pedestal you have, you will always be mistreated. Okay? I said what I said. And if you don't believe it, why don't you watch the exotical channels? Why don't you watch our stories over here where we talk about the dark side that comes with pretty privilege? So they've got these unrealistic expectations. Oh, well, we want to be correctively promoted because then that's going to stop us from being mistreated. Are you an idiot? Do you think that a commercial on TV or being cast in a movie is going to make everybody treat you perfectly? Do you see how they have this unrealistic, ethereal standard of what it's like to be privileged? They have an unrealistic standard of privilege because they don't want to listen to privileged women on the internet. And they want to discredit those women. They want to make it like they're not secretly worshiping those women. And then another comment I saw is one of the ladies is like, remember how they embraced that New York statue? Any other day they berate black women with the exact aesthetic. They play those games to keep you trapped. It's very narcissistic. Okay, first of all, who's they? Are you talking about black people or non-black people? Who are the main people that would antagonize a black woman that looks like that statue? Who is the main group of people that was antagonizing the actual statue? So they're saying they have this us versus them mindset, but they don't realize that they is other black women. Those were the main people talking shit about the statue. It was literally black women. I didn't see millions of white people commenting on that statue saying it's too fat or they didn't like the hairstyle. I didn't see a bunch of white people commenting. I didn't see a bunch of Asian people commenting on that statue. And then she says, they play those games to keep you trapped. It's very narcissistic. Keep you trapped in what? Since when is your blackness a trap? Do you hear the internalized self-hatred coming out? Oh, they want to keep you trapped. Trapped in what? You think your blackness is a trap. Okay, thank you for proving my point. We are not the real colorists. We are not the real self-hating ones. It's yourselves. The biggest form of colorism, texturism, and featureism is internalized. It's within the black community. It's within your mind. You view your own blackness as a trap. You view your 4C hair or whatever it is, skin tone, hair, your facial features. You view your own ethnic background as a trap, according to this screenshot right here. I mean, you heard it from the horse's mouth right here. Where's the trap? What is the trap that you're in? So do you see, exoticals, how that's another bad social climbing tactic? One of the advantages we have is we don't view our blackness as a trap. We view it as an asset. So we know how to use our blackness when it's convenient. You know how they try to shame us? Oh, you're jumping in and out of blackness. Ma'am, that's how you're supposed to do it. That's called being multicultural. It's called being multicultural. When you're already multicultural, you don't have to code switch. You don't have to feel inauthentic because you genuinely hang out with people from other cultures. You genuinely like people from other cultures. You genuinely interact with people from other cultures and you can fit in just fine because you see other people as human. You don't see other people as a freaking meal ticket. It's almost as if some of these women, they view white people as their meal ticket. Oh, whiteness is my meal ticket to status. Being associated with this white man, you know, being cast in a movie, being perceived as sexy in the eyes of a non-black man, that's my meal ticket to social status. And we all know that that's false, by the way, because multiculturalism is bigger than ever, right? America's more of a melting pot than ever. Our media is way more diverse today than it was 50 years ago. And you still have unambiguous women on the internet complaining. Okay, so that's proof that that standard doesn't work anyway. And by the way, let's talk about pretty privilege. Pretty privilege only trickles down to you if you actually look like the pretty privileged woman. So for example, Shelley or Olandria, it only trickles down to you, their pretty privilege, if you actually look like them. AKA being in shape. We all know that the black community has what? Is it an 80% obesity rate? I know that in the United States, the average size for women of all races is what? 18? Size 18 to 20? So maybe the pretty privilege of Lizzo will trickle down to you because that's more so who your body type is mimicking, you know, size 18 to 20. Actually, I think Lizzo even lost weight. But yeah, that's another bad social climbing tactic they have. They want the pretty privilege to trickle down from women who don't look like them. If you look at the exoticals that they were trying to dox, every single one of those exoticals, light skin, dark skin, all of them actually looked like the women that I put in my Pinterest images. In fact, at one point, I was actually using the subscribers' photos in my pretty privilege videos. So I was using their actual photos. But also, another talking point that I heard from Chrissie a while back was that she doesn't put obese or like very plus size women in her DDS magazine because she said that she doesn't want to encourage that because, you know, that kills black women. It unalives black women, like being overweight and stuff like that. Okay, so my question is, so then Chrissie, why are you overweight according to your own talking points? Because Chrissie, just a few months ago, she admitted that she was overweight or quote unquote thick and juicy. We all know what it means when an unambiguous black woman calls herself thick and juicy. Come on. Thick and juicy, that is a euphemism for obese or overweight. We all know that in the black community, size 12, size 10 to 12 is skinny in the black community. So if a black woman calls herself thick and juicy, she didn't say slim thick. She didn't say, oh, I got a little bit of hips. Oh, I got a booty. No, she didn't say slim thick. She said not just thick, but also juicy. So when somebody calls themselves juicy, I'm thinking of they're jiggling. Their body is kind of jiggling when they walk. Okay, so fat. That's what it is. It's literally fat. So that's another social climbing mistake. And I'm glad the exoticals are not falling for it because it's like you've got these women who claim to be leaders of their community. Or they try to pretend like they are the end-all, be-all. They try to pretend like they have so many groundbreaking talking points. But then these women don't even fit their own internalized standard for their own bodies. At least in the exotical space. Like, if you look at the comments on my beluga videos, there are a lot of exoticals who are like, oh yeah, I'm losing weight right now. Like, we have no problem over here admitting, hey, I'm losing weight right now. Hey, I'm leveling up right now. Hey, you know what? I broke my hair off last year. I'm growing my hair back. Like, I've noticed that a part of our feminine privilege as exoticals is we are not afraid of vulnerability. We're not afraid of vulnerability. That is one of the inherent qualities that it tends to be associated with femininity, by the way. So all this talk about corrective promotion and being feminine, but then you got women who they don't want to admit their weaknesses. They don't want to admit what they're working on. They don't want to admit the areas where they need to level up. They have a hyper masculine mindset where everybody's their competition. They want to dominate and subjugate other women. They're competing with white women. Oh, and that's another thing too. Why is their standard always non-blackness? Oh, well, I want to have the same level of status that a non-black woman has. Oh, well, I want to be loved just like how this white woman is. Oh, well, I want to be perceived how this Latina is perceived. I want to be perceived like these exoticals that get access to these wealthy NFL players. And I noticed that in Chrissie's recent video, she was like, oh, the concept of corrective promotion is very triggering to a lot of people. Responding to a YouTube video, that's not the same as being triggered. She tries to use this inflammatory language like, oh my God, everybody's just so racist and colorist against dark-skinned black women. Oh my God, everybody's just piling onto her and ganging up on her. But it's like, okay, if unambiguous dark-skinned women are the blueprint, and if Chrissie herself has the biggest YouTube channel, the biggest influence, then why would it even matter that channels who are 10 times smaller than her are responding? Also, recently, about a month ago, Chrissie did a shorts video about corrective promotion, and she showed a dark-skinned black woman being a model. So she's saying, that's corrective promotion, is dark-skinned black women being models. Okay, so the exoticals, we are models over here. We have models in the exotical sector. So do you see how we are everything she wants to be? The exotical sector already embodies everything that Chrissie wishes she was. Oh, and by the way, there already are dark-skinned, unambiguous models. We have Anoki. There are so many black models out there. I will say there are not as many black models as non-black models, but nobody is stopping black women from creating their own modeling agencies. And I'm sure there are plenty of black fashion designers that would love to have some black models representing their clothing lines. So again, that's why I ask, whose responsibility is it to do all of this corrective promotion? Because Chrissie was celebrating a dark-skinned black woman modeling for Old Navy. Old Navy is not owned by black people. That is a non-black owned company. So do you see how her concept of corrective promotion, it always involves non-black validation? Oh, I want black people to model for white companies like Old Navy. Oh, I want black women to be kissing white men in commercials. So do you see how there's always this need for white validation? There's a need for non-black validation. That's what she considers to be mainstream is whiteness. So do you see what I mean when I say she has a whiteness centered standard of social climbing? And I've noticed that another thing Chrissy wants is she feels like black women in luxury is a form of corrective promotion. Okay, so again, with her wanting everything the exoticals already have, we already have luxury. We are already associated with luxury. They look up to women like Meghan Markle, who obviously has a luxurious life. They look up to women like Lori Harvey, who benefits from colorism, texturism, and featureism, and she is known as a socialite. They look up to women like Justine Skye, who is another rich socialite who is multiracial. So do you see what I mean when I say that they're trying to play this catch-up game? They're trying to catch up to what the exoticals are already doing. And it wouldn't be a problem if they would simply give us our exotical tax. If they would simply admit that we, the exoticals, we in the Pretty Girl Club are already living the lifestyles that they would want to live. If they would simply humble themselves and say, hey, I think you guys are really pretty. I think you guys are really awesome. I would love to learn from you guys. If they would just say that, all their problems would be solved. But I also want to point out the fact that even the black women in luxury movement, it often shows black women with luxury brands that are non-black owned. So again, with the multiculturalism. So do you see how the exoticals are already, we are the solution to all their problems. I mean, let's just be honest. We are the fucking solution because you're over here saying that your life goal is to be as multicultural as possible. You want to work in multicultural settings. You want to be featured in commercials for multicultural appealing brands like Old Navy. You want to be the black woman in luxury of non-black brands, so you want to be associated with other cultures. You want to be what the exoticals already are. So if you want to be that, that's fine, but just admit that you are not pro-black. You are not pro-black woman. You're not black female-centered. You are multicultural centered or whiteness centered. And one of the critiques I heard about the exotical space, somebody was like, oh, well, the exoticals, they have a white standard of beauty, or they have, Eurocentrism is a part of the exotical standard of beauty. Well, damn right it is. Of course it is. Because whiteness, Asian ancestry, all the non-black communities are literally a part of our DNA. So we have multiracial women on this channel. There are a lot of women on here who are part Indian, they're part white. So we don't view whiteness. We don't view whiteness the same way that like an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman would view whiteness. So according to their own traumas, they view whiteness, they associate whiteness with oppression and with, them being slaves or whatever, or they feel like white people are their enemy, or they feel like non-black women in general are their enemies. And that is more of a monoculturally black talking point. So we don't have that same mindset. We don't view non-black people as our enemies, but we also don't pedestalize them either, because we already have proximity to them. We already have their blood running through our veins, or we have family members who are from those groups, or we can pass for having a family member who is from one of those groups. So we have more of a neutral mindset when it comes to non-blackness. But you can tell that Chrissie, she has this obsession, a pedestalization, and a fascination with non-black cultures and, non-black brands. Oh, well, this is luxury because she's wearing Balenciaga. Oh, this is luxury because, she's wearing an Italian brand. She's carrying Italian designer bags. Okay, so you want to carry Italian designer bags, but you don't want to put respect on black and Italian women. Make that make sense. And I also want to point out that Chrissie views weight loss and, having a healthy, fit body. She views that as a standard of, corrective promotion for dark-skinned black women. So why was she on her channel trying to make fun of exoticals who were thin? Remember when Chrissie, she said that she doxed me? She was like making fun of what she thinks is my appearance or whatever. So isn't that interesting? Like I said, the exoticals and the exotical content creators, we are everything that she wants to be. Also, she promotes and supports health and fitness, but notice how she doesn't make any health content. She doesn't make any fitness content. You know why? Because she's not healthy or fit, according to her own talking points. She's not healthy or fit, so she can't even help her own audience. She can't tell them how to lose weight and become, be at a healthy weight as a dark-skinned black woman. So why, like, this is exactly why it's a bad social climbing tactic, because they've got the blind leading the blind. You got a woman who couldn't even achieve her own body goals trying to talk about some leveling up. Leveling up where? Where's your proof? Where are your receipts? Because all the exoticals that they try to talk shit about, all those exoticals actually have receipts. You can say what you want, you can have your opinions on them, but every single exotical content creator has had some measure of success in some area. Whether it's her body goals, she's at a healthy weight, she's fit, she's doing acting, she's got her own YouTube channel, she's not codependent. Like, one of the social advantages we have as exoticals is that we are not codependent on one another. The other exoticals, they're not codependent on my channel. They don't just repeat my exact talking points and that's it. No, they all develop their own personal talking points. They all have their own personal brand, their own imagery that they use on their channel. They all have their own editing styles. And another thing about Chrissie's corrective promotion talking point is her goal is that she just doesn't want dark-skinned black women to be viewed as being at the bottom. So I've noticed what they want is they want like light-skinned women to be at the bottom instead, or they want any other phenotype of women to be perceived as being at the bottom. It's not necessarily that they care about being at the top of the beauty hierarchy, because they do have hierarchy thinking as well. I don't believe in hierarchies like that, but she does. So it's not necessarily that Chrissie wants to be at the top. It's that she just doesn't want to be at the bottom. So in order for her and her audience to not be at the bottom, they have to try to tear down light-skinned women and mixed-race women. They have to try to tear down the exoticals because they want us to be the new standard of being at the bottom. That's what it is. So she doesn't necessarily want to be at the top because she knows that's unattainable for her. It's more so that she just doesn't want to be last. She doesn't want to be the last to get chosen by white men. She doesn't want to be the last to get chosen for modeling gigs. And that's another thing, too. She promotes dark-skinned black women in modeling, dark-skinned black women in luxury, but she herself has not done that. I mean, even if you look at Mayowa's world, Mayowa is actually more qualified to talk about something like modeling. So, again, you got Chrissie promoting something. She's promoting a lifestyle that she herself has never even lived. So, I mean, it would have been better for somebody like Mayowa to talk about modeling, or even Queen Chama to talk about being in a pageant or something. So, again, you got Chrissie. She doesn't want to collaborate with other content creators. She doesn't promote those other content creators. She doesn't tell her audience, hey, go subscribe to Queen Chama if you're a medium brown Nigerian who wants to be in a pageant. She doesn't say stuff like that because she doesn't want her audience to listen to other dark-skinned black women creators. So this has more to do with her feeling like she has a sense of power in the dark-skinned black community as opposed to actually helping dark-skinned women succeed. So that's another example of her bad social climbing tactics. And if you look at Chrissie's recent video at the 1 minute and 40-second mark, she talks about how corrective promotion is about showing dark-skinned black women in their best light and being at a fit, healthy weight, like with their natural hair, for example, and being perceived as feminine. So her whole point is that she wants dark-skinned women to have, I guess you could call it like a feminine privilege, or, you know, she's trying to combat these negative stereotypes that we see in the dark-skinned community. And it's like, okay, so she's telling you what she wants the corrective promotion to be, but she herself already doesn't meet that standard. Her audience in general doesn't meet that standard. And it's like, okay, if you had a YouTube channel for over 10 years talking about corrective promotion, why has the needle not moved over 10 or 15 years? When we walk down the street, why doesn't the average dark-skinned black woman have a healthy weight with the long natural hair, you know, the 4C hair and stuff? You know, why are wigs and weaves still selling out? Why are people actually fighting over bundles now? Why are people fighting over bundles when Chrissie is right here? If she was truly successful in her talking points and corrective promotion and all of that, then we wouldn't see unambiguous women as a whole still wearing type 3 bundles because, you know, they would be following Chrissie's talking point, which is the whole corrective promotion thing, the natural hair, Afrocentric hairstyles, but they're not doing that. So there's something to be said about that. Clearly, her talking points are flawed. If you were to compare the black empowerment space versus the exotical space, for example, in the exotical space, you can actually see growth. Our channels are growing. There are over 150 channels now at this point. So new channels are being birthed every single day. New channels are being created every single day by exoticals. They're creating their own Patreons and their own members pages. So that's literally an exotical economy at that point. We've got a whole online digital economy at this point. So that's growth. Our talking points can't be that bad if you've got over 100 women taking the initiative and feeling empowered. That's true empowerment right there. But on Chrissie's end, when you look at her corrective promotion talking points, you don't really see the same level of empowerment. I think that I would give them more credit if I saw more women rocking 4C hair and wearing 4C bundles. First of all, do they even make 4C bundles? Because I've noticed in the Black community, they don't like shrunken 4C hair. If you have shrunken 3C hair, no problem. Shrunken type 2 hair, no problem. Shrunken up type 1 hair, not a problem at all. But as soon as you get to the shrunken 4C, they don't like that type of hair texture. They don't buy bundles in that hair texture because they don't like the shrinkage, which is natural, by the way. That's literally how their hair is. It naturally shrinks up and coils up. That's good. I thought that was a sign of health. I thought that's just how their hair is. But we don't see a trend where you've got more women purchasing 4C bundles, if they even make them at all. The most I've seen is maybe 4A. They might have 4B somewhere. But I'm talking about 4C, which is the most Afrocentric you can get. If you claim to be pro-black woman, pro-dark-skinned black woman, no mixture, not mixed race, not biracial or whatever, okay, then I want to see more 4C hair. Okay, so why haven't we seen it? Chrissie has been here for 15 years or so? The colorism talking points have been around for decades now, and they still haven't been able to move the needle even when it comes to something like texturism. But I saw that Chrissie was like, oh, it's about black women improving their representation. Okay, so has the representation been improved? Yes or no? Because if the answer is yes, then that means your channel is no longer necessary since you already achieved your goal. So why do you still have to make all of these complaining videos if you guys already have the corrective promotion that you wanted? So do you see what I mean? It's never enough. That's really what it is. It's never enough. They always have a scarcity mindset. So being in an Old Navy commercial, that was not enough. They need more. Having Lupita Nyong'o, she's not enough. They need more. And that's the whole point that people are asking. It's like, okay, so when is it going to be enough? When will you feel like dark-skinned black women have succeeded at the corrective promotion? What is the standard of success? How many black models do you want there to be? How many black movies do you want there to be? How many black luxury videos and stuff do you want there to be? That's what people are asking. And notice how Chrissie can't answer. She keeps deflecting. She keeps giving these vague answers. Because they're right when they say that ultimately they'll never be satisfied until they are literally the majority in terms of media representation, which I actually don't care how much representation they want as long as they're willing to do it themselves and stop trying to use light-skinned women as their mules or trying to use multiracial people as their mules or riding the coattails of non-black men while not liking the daughters and granddaughters of those non-black men, aka exoticals. Also, at the 2-minute mark of Chrissie's most recent video, she admits that she actually agrees with red pill men, which goes along with my talking point where I said they're really two sides of the same coin. Okay, so even though they try to act like they're so opposite, Chrissie actually admitted that she agrees that dark-skinned black women, they need to be more feminine and essentially she's promoting almost like this trad wife type of thing where she wants them to not be perceived as aggressive and combative, and she wants black women to change their behavior. Okay, so that's another talking point about Chrissie. That's a psychoanalysis point that I was right on. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I've also noticed that some women, they think that we don't want them to explore their options. I've noticed they always randomly bring the conversation back to men. Oh, well, you just don't want black women to open their options. No, I don't give a fuck who you sleep with. I don't care who your man is. I don't care what color your boyfriend is. And obviously, we're not against swirling because that's idiotic. We wouldn't exist if it weren't for swirling. So that would make no sense for us to be against swirling. We don't care who you choose to date. All we're saying is, if you're going to date multiculturally, I better not see you being racist against multicultural women. I better not see you being racist against mixed race women. I better not see you trying to put mixed women on a hierarchy and say, oh, well, you don't even count as mixed. Oh, well, you only have one non-black grandparent. Oh, well, you're not even light-skinned. Oh, well, you're not even biracial. Well, you're not 50% white. I don't want to hear any of those hierarchy talking points if you're going to be a part of my community. Because guess what? Who has the authority over their own communities? It's the members of that actual community. Just like how Chrissie has authority when it comes to unambiguous dark-skinned black women, I have authority when it comes to being multicultural and multiracial. So who gonna check me? Also, if you look at the 2 minute and 45 second mark in Chrissie's video, by the way, I'm not using her audios because she tries to flag and strike my channel. She's done it several times, and she also accidentally doxed herself when trying to file a legal report against my channel. So she's actually lucky that I don't dox her for real, like how she tried to do with me. But I want to talk about how she actually admits around the 2 minute mark that it is a competition. She's in a beauty competition with light-skinned women and non-black women, and she says, oh, well, I think that sometimes the other women deserve to win. Win what? Why is it always a contest? Oh, who's the prettiest? Who's the most feminine? Who's the most desirable? So do you see what I mean? She's in this sexual competition. She's in this femininity competition. She's in a one-sided femininity competition with mixed and light-skinned women. And she admits it at the 2 minute mark of her video. Please go check out her video. And then she says that people are just misunderstanding her. And what she doesn't understand is that nobody has perfect talking points. Nobody. Not me. Not anybody on YouTube. There's no such thing as a human being without flaws. So have you ever noticed that when it comes to Chrissie, she can call out what she thinks are the holes in all of our talking points. But then as soon as somebody does it to her, she says, oh no, it's just a misunderstanding. All of my talking points are perfect. My channel's perfect. Everything I have to say is perfect. My logic is perfect. Nobody has perfect logic. And then at the 3 minute and 34 second mark, Chrissie actually admits that she agreed with Kevin Samuels. So like I said, once again, she's proving that they are two sides of the same coin. So she claims to be against like the manosphere. She claims to so what it is, it's basically new and improved red pill, but it's only for unambiguous dark-skinned women. That's essentially what their content is. That's what the black empowerment content is. That's why I said that usually whenever they try to insult exoticals, they will use red pill insults such as, you're going to age badly, you hit the wall, you're going to die alone. They got all those talking points from red pill. But Chrissie actually admitted around the 3 minute mark that Kevin Samuels was the one that talked about how black women need to compete. And Chrissie admits that she agrees with that. But the only thing is she wants to compete on her terms, not on Kevin Samuels' terms. Okay, but you still agree with the fundamental concept of what the manosphere said. So you're literally proving my point, which is they're two sides of the same coin. You got these incel types of talking points on one side, and then you got these femcel types of talking points on the other side. And then they'll be like, oh, well, exoticals and all these people are just trying to sabotage dark-skinned black women. First of all, I'm a random person on the internet. We are all just random content creators on the internet. How do we have the power to sabotage people? We don't have the power to sabotage people. None of us know each other in real life. We're never going to meet each other in real life. We are not paying your bills. There's no way for another human being to truly sabotage you, especially via the internet. So that's how I know that Chrissie's view of success is really just social status. So like I said, this is never a social justice conversation, because if you feel like a YouTube video can sabotage you, the only way you can feel sabotaged is if you care about your social status. That's the only thing that people can smear on the internet, really, is your status. They can talk shit, they can make mean videos about you or whatever. So once again, she's also proving my point that her entire concept was never about social justice. The entire ism conversation that Chrissie started and was dominating at one point, it was never about social justice. It was always about social status. Also, she confirms my talking point. Like I said, she'll never be able to stop talking about colorism. She'll never be able to create a huge variety of content on her channel, because her audience only came there for the colorism talking points. That's why whenever she tries to talk about something else, it always flops. And also, if she does talk about something else, she has nothing to say. So for example, with weight loss, she can't talk about weight loss. She can't talk about being a healthy weight because she's not a healthy weight. And then she attempts to talk about, I guess, dating multiculturally or kind of social climbing. Her social climbing talking points also fall flat because she doesn't have any personal examples in her own life of social climbing. She has to actually go out and recruit dark-skinned black women from her audience to try to tell stories about them social climbing, because she herself doesn't have any examples. So it's like, okay, if I have to recruit women of my audience, I mean, that means that I don't actually have the sauce. I don't have the sauce. I don't have the secret sauce. Because I have to go and ask another woman, oh, hey, how did you social climb? Hey, how did you get your husband? Hey, how did you get this opportunity? So that means she's not actually an authority on the subject of social climbing or corrective promotion either. So my question is, how has Chrissie correctively promoted herself? Why hasn't she ever been able to tell stories of her own personal life and how she's been able to do that? Because if you look at the exotical sector, I have story times about myself. The other exoticals have story times about ourselves. I mean, we got hundreds of story times on here. Be sure to check out my story time series. We talk about all kinds of topics on here. But notice how on her channel she can't do that because she herself doesn't even meet the standard. And then she says that people try to debunk her talking points, but they can't. People have debunked Chrissie's talking points for years. There were people debunking her way before I came onto the scene. So that was a lie that she said in her video at the 4-minute and 1 second mark. That was actually a lie. People have been debunking her talking points. And that's why she admitted that at one point she didn't even want to talk about colorism anymore. Okay, so that's proof that you've been debunked. If you had to stop talking about colorism because you couldn't handle the smoke from the exotical space, if you had to resort to trying to dox exoticals and stuff like that, that's proof that your talking points have been debunked. And then one of Chrissie's cohorts, who was also in the black empowerment space, Paris Milan, she got off YouTube altogether. Then we got Queen Chama not identifying as dark-skinned. You know, she couldn't argue with any talking points, so she had to come on and announce that she does not identify as dark-skinned. She is a medium brown Nigerian. So you got women all over the internet who have been debunked, and they are leaving their original talking points, and now they're trying to parrot and mimic the exotical talking points. Another thing I've noticed too, when it comes to Chrissie, is she says that she says that we are trying to copy her talking points, and that, you know, we're the ones that got those original talking points from her, social climbing, femininity talking points, etc. And it's like, okay, so if you're the blueprint of all of these amazing talking points, why are you no longer making content on it then? Why did you hide your content where you talked about feminine archetypes? Oh, it's because it was actually male-centered, and I called that out. And also, if her talking points about colorism were so strong, why did she hide her videos? Why did she hide all of her initial colorism videos? They're not even on her members page or anything. She deleted them completely. Why did she do that? If her talking points were that great, and nobody could debunk them, why not keep up all of those old videos? You can look back at my channel right now. I've got over 1,000 videos. You can go back and see all of my cringy, low-quality videos. You can go back and see all of my old videos from when I first started. Because my talking points from back then still stand. And that's why nobody will ever be able to say, oh, well, Exoticals United, she changed. Okay, well, if you really think I changed, all you have to do is just go watch my older videos. Go watch my older videos. Go watch my older streams. And you'll see that it's really the same fundamental talking points from the beginning. But in Chrissie's case, she had to delete and remove hundreds of her videos because she knew that what we were saying about her was correct, which was she felt a sense of competition, social competition, with non-black women or women who are lighter than her. And a lot of her feminine content, kind of these feminine archetypes, it was male-centered content. It was either black male-centered. She started off actually being black male-centered when she first came onto YouTube. And if you don't believe me, please go watch her older videos. She herself admits this. She started off being black male-centered. She was very much like a hotep type. And then over time, after being rejected by the black men in the YouTube space or whatever, and after like not being able to collaborate with them, then she flipped it over and got on to kind of this divestment and swirling movement. And that's because it was becoming popular at the time. You had other content creators kind of talking about interracial dating. But the problem, though, is that some of the other content creators who talk about interracial dating, I don't see them bashing multiracial women like how I did with Chrissie. So there's a reason why you see me talking more so about Chrissie, because she was the main one that was bashing light-skinned women with type 4 hair. Remember that one video with the girl with the goggles, and she said that she had fried leave out, and she's a wannabe. Her hair texture, she wishes that her hair was a Brazilian wavy, and it's really not. Chrissie was the main one doing that. I didn't see a lot of the other swirling YouTubers at the time doing that same thing, where they felt like they had to specifically bash other phenotypes so they can gain access to white men. I didn't see the same obsession like how I saw over on like Chrissie's channel, or like Paris Milan's channel, or like Queen Chama's channel. And then at the 5-minute and 43-second mark, you've got the psychological jackpot, where Chrissie says, quote, "We are the small fries compared to the mainstream media." So there is the summary of her entire inferiority complex right there. She just called her fellow dark-skinned black women small fries. So if you're dark-skinned and black, if you got 4C hair, oh yeah, you got broad features, oh, you're small fries. You're small fries compared to the mainstream media. Also, what does she define as mainstream? She feels like every other phenotype really is more mainstream than dark-skinned black women, according to her own content. She talks about it. She talks about how that is colorism. That's colorism in the media, putting more light-skinned women as, being more mainstream, or kind of promoting them more. So her inferiority complex is coming out. She's saying that we're small fries. She's saying, oh, you're a drop in the bucket. You're small fries compared to everybody else. Okay, so that's proof of inferiority. Small and compared to who? Those who are bigger. So her standard is she wants to become a bigger fry. She wants to climb the social ladder so that one day she could be alongside the almighty exoticals, or the almighty white women, or the almighty Latinas. Also, she admitted that white men will never make black women the beauty standard. Okay, so then what does that say about dark-skinned black women's hope for interracial dating then? If white men themselves will never make that phenotype their beauty standard, and if black men are supposedly so colorist or whatever, so then what does that say about their hopes when it comes to dating? So do you see how they're constantly suffering, all because they don't want to be single? Notice how in the exotical space, the solution we offer here is, look, if men don't want you, or if nobody meets your standards, stay single. Just decenter them altogether. Stay single, do whatever you want, travel, start your own businesses, start a YouTube channel, just decenter them, as opposed to fighting and, oh, I got to correct this promotion, and oh my God, I have to try to figure out all these strategies on how to be perceived as more feminine because white men will never make me their standard. So let me just try to, not be a small fry anymore, because we're small fries. So, I'm just a drop in the bucket as a dark-skinned black woman with 4C hair. So let me try to come up with all these social strategies so that Scott can finally notice me, even if it's just for a little while. Do you hear how low self-esteem that sounds? All of this just because women don't want to be single. All of this so women can chase the breadcrumbs of fame. All of this so women can feel just a little bit relevant. I just want a drop of relevancy. I just want a drop of Scott's validation. And also, when it comes to her social strategies, I don't necessarily think that she wants white men to make dark-skinned black women their beauty standard. I think that she just wants white men to be attracted to them, though. That's what it is. She wants non-black men to be attracted to them. That's why she's saying, lose the weight. Don't lose weight because you actually want to be healthy. Don't lose weight because that's actually you're going to live a better lifestyle. No. Lose weight so that Indian men can be attracted to you. Lose weight so that Latinos can be attracted to you. So that's really her goal. She just wants to capture the male gaze. That's why I said it's still male-centered. She wants to capture the male gaze, or she wants to capture the admiration of people in general. So she wants others to admire her, but then she says that we have a superiority complex because we want others to admire us. Do you see the hypocrisy? Also, she admits that she wants dark-skinned black women to assimilate into other cultures. So the same thing that she shamed exoticals for doing. Remember how they were trying to dox one of the exoticals and she had a relaxer or something, and they were like, oh, she just has a relaxer. She just has blonde highlights because she's just trying to look more ambiguous. She wants to assimilate into ambiguity. So they shamed exoticals for doing something that they themselves just admitted they want to do. And by the way, she admits that at the 6 minute and 45-second mark on her video. I've also noticed that they're talking about how black men, they say that black men are not building anything. But then Chrissie, she admits that actually black men do build some stuff, but they just promote exoticals. They just don't promote unambiguous dark-skinned black women. So that makes me, that kind of confirms my talking point, which is Chrissie, she was initially attracted to unambiguous black men. She initially wanted to couple up with or kind of collab with unambiguous black men. We see this in her talking points, and we saw this on her channel when it first started. But then because that failed, or she felt like the exoticals were being chosen over her, she switched up her strategy, and now the strategy is hopefully they can kind of collaborate in non-black male spaces. And then hopefully they won't be small fries anymore. So that's my question to Black Empowerment YouTube. What is the solution? What will make you guys no longer small fries? What will make you no longer a drop in the bucket? Because I can tell you that bashing exoticals or bashing pretty dark-skinned women, that's not going to help. Just want to put that out there. That's not going to help. And then also having women, having the blind leading the blind. Because if you look at the main Black Empowerment YouTubers, oftentimes they are obese women or they're overweight women. So they don't even have the baseline standard of living with a basic sense of health. Did you know that the foods you eat, it actually affects how your brain works? It actually can affect the symptoms that you have when it comes to being able to think clearly or not. Certain foods can actually cause brain fog. So you got women who, they're not even properly nourished. They're literally malnourished. They can't even think straight. And you got these women leading other dark-skinned black women into a ditch. It's the blind leading the blind. It's women leading other dark-skinned black women into a ditch, socially. It's keeping other dark-skinned black women at the bottom, socially. According to their own talking points. She admitted she feels like they're a drop in the bucket. And they keep bringing up this talking point of, oh, well, they just don't want dark-skinned black women to expand their options. With all due respect, no one is threatened by your options. Because, first of all, not only are the majority of men in America broke, make less than 100K, but also, first of all, don't even get me started on the amount of DL men, just of all races, not even black. Actually, let's eliminate blackness since a lot of them are divestors or whatever. Even if you're looking at statistics about non-black men, majority of them make less than 100K. Majority of men have actually been exposed to the red pill, whether they're black or not. A lot of men are internalized misogynists, obviously. Patriarchy is a factor. So we're not threatened by dark-skinned black women wanting to date more. I mean, by all means, take out the trash. By all means, please. I would love it if a lot of these men would stop catcalling the exoticals. We would love it if more of these unambiguous women would take these men off the market. Please, by all means, take these men off the market. Majority of them are 50-50. Majority of them are making less than 100K. Majority of men are average. That's literally the definition of the word average. So nobody cares about this whole, oh, well, we just have more options. Please, by all means, take all the options you want. And let us know how it works out for you in the end. Because last time I checked, the divorce rates are still the same. The childbirthing rate is still going down. Even if dark-skinned black women are getting married more and all that, which I don't think is true. But even if they were, let's say that they are. Okay, well, what does that have to do with our YouTube channels? Like, there are so many more important things. There are so many more fulfilling things in this world other than being in a romantic relationship with a non-black man. And by the way, I'm all for them procreating and marrying non-black men because they're just promoting multiculturalism. They're raising the exotical social status. They're creating more exoticals. They're creating more light-skinned people. They're creating more type 3 hair. They're creating more multiracial. They're creating people with light eyes and people with skinny noses and, fine features. So I will never tell them to not procreate or to not swirl or to not get married and produce families. Because all they're doing is literally, they're literally acting as mammies for the next generation of exoticals. They're literally acting as mammies. All they're doing is creating more children that will one day come across the exotical sector on YouTube. And by the way, this sector is only going to grow over time. So I'm all for them procreating, because then all that's going to happen is their children are going to grow up and they're going to write in more story times that I get to share on my channel. They're going to grow up and create channels like this. So either way, those women will have to face their own insecurities, because they're going to birth children that don't look like them. They're going to birth children that don't suffer from the same isms as them. We all know that in the Black community, there's this tendency to want to trauma bond. So all they're doing is creating children that they cannot trauma bond with. Imagine being an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman who's overweight and having a little daughter and trying to talk to your daughter about colorism. Your daughter's light-skinned. What are you talking about? Your daughter she has type 3 hair. Trying to talk to her about texturism when your daughter benefits from texturism. So I'm not against them having options and, expanding their options, or creating more Black and Indian babies, or, creating Afro-Latina babies. I will never be against that. I hope they do go and marry more non-Black men and create babies. And then guess what? Those babies will be able to report on the traumas that they experienced with those Black mothers. And all they're going to do is expose them and write story times to exotical channels when they get older. So they're literally creating their own ops according to their own talking points, because they view us as their ops a lot of times. They're creating their own ops. If anything, that's going to have more exoticals on the inside, because then, their future children will be able to tell us the psychology of their own mothers. So saying that we are against them having options, or, we're against them being wives to non-Black men, that's a laughable talking point. And also for the dark-skinned Black women who are dating interracially and they're child-free, that doesn't hurt me either, because if anything, all you're doing is preventing generational trauma of the future mixed race children, because you're not birthing them. So either way, we win. Either way, we're still going to succeed. Either way, you're helping the exotical community, because now there's going to be one less traumatized multiracial Black woman in this world. So that's still good. Whether you're child-free or you have the children, it's still good, because now that if you have the child, they're going to get saved one day. They're going to have their exotical wake-up call and come over to exotical channels. Or if you don't have the children, their trauma will never exist to begin with. So there's no way that the exoticals will ever suffer. But then I noticed that in order to prove her point, Chrissie brought up images of her videos saying that she has always promoted Black women being with all races of men. And she promotes these videos, but they're all hidden. They're all like privated videos. And it's like, okay, if this content is so good and if the talking points are so great, why would you not make them public again? Why do they have to be privated? Well, it's because she can't handle the smoke. She can't handle us analyzing her content. She knows that it proves my point, which is that most of her content was male-centered and it was about social status, never about social justice for colorism. And then at the 14-minute and 59-second mark, Chrissie's like, oh, I don't hate MLS women. I just don't like colorists. But she does not define what makes somebody a colorist, because if you look at a lot of her past content, there's even some content still up on her channel right now. Just filter her videos by the oldest videos and begin to watch those videos. She comes against MLS women who have never done or said anything colorist. She comes against them all the time. Or she talks about how they look bad, or, their noses are ugly because they have an Arab nose. For example, Hazel E., that's who she said that about. She talks about random women just not being attractive or being quote-unquote ugly. For example, Tiny. I've never seen Tiny do or say anything colorist against dark-skinned Black women. So that's actually a lie when she says, oh, well, I just don't like colorists. Okay, but her talking points go against MLS women who are not colorists all the time. She even called me a colorist. And if you look at her video that she made against me, she literally used a fake impersonator account and tried to say that I called people darkies, like I called them a colorist name. So she comes against MLS women of all backgrounds all the time, who are not even colorists, who didn't even say anything colorist. Also, she never gives a standard for what she considers colorist. Is not dating somebody, is that being a colorist? Is creating a space for MLS women, is that colorist? Like, what exactly does she define as a colorist? Notice how she's constantly moving the goalpost for what a colorist is. And then she says that, oh, well, you don't need to procreate with a non-Black man in order to make light-skinned children. Okay, but the bottom line is that we have to be a part of your beauty standard. We have to be, because if you're having children at all, there's a chance that you could come out with either a light-skinned child that's monoracial, if you have a kid with a light-skinned man, or there's a chance that you could come out with a dark-skinned mixed child. Like if you have some sort of biracial child. So either way, we will be included in your internalized beauty standard. If you have children and you're a dark-skinned black woman, if you have children with anything other than a dark-skinned black man, exoticals have to be included in your internalized beauty standard. We have to be. Because otherwise you wouldn't create the children, right? You wouldn't want your children to look like anything different. That's the whole point. That's why people make that talking point of you being a major hypocrite or you creating phenotypes that you claim to dislike. Oh, well, mixed people age badly. Okay, so why are you creating children? That are you going to tell your child that they're going to age badly? Because they have less melanin? And then she's like, oh, my platform is not about dark-skinned women replacing anyone. Okay, but it is about dark-skinned women feeling replaced, according to her own talking points. Also, there's another psychological jackpot at the 17-minute mark where Chrissie admits that most black women aren't swirling anyway. So she literally debunks her entire channel. She debunks all of her talking points by admitting that despite her channel with 250,000 subscribers, that most black women, which would include her own subscribers, are not swirling anyway. Also, I just wanted to bring up the percentages in terms of raw numbers. So let's say that 1% of white men are marrying out and like prefer black women. Okay, so I actually looked that up on ChatGPT. Like, how many white men are there if we were to count just 1% of them dating black women? Okay, that's about 1 million men. And then I put into ChatGPT, how many black women are there in the US? There are 21.1 million black women in the United States. So 21 million black women trying to go after 1 million black men. Do you see the uneven gender ratio? So do you see how it also creates a hyper-competitiveness amongst black women trying to compete for, I guess, the 1 or 2% of white men that will date them? And I mean, those numbers can expand for all the other ethnicities. Okay, let's say that 1 million men of each ethnicity dates black women. So then you'd have, what, 5 or 6 million men compared to 21 million black women trying to date them. Do you see what people mean when they say it's more of an unrealistic talking point? And then she keeps saying that us YouTubers are trying to stop them from swirling. A YouTube channel can't stop people from dating who they want to date. That's not how sexual orientation works. That's not how dating works. So she's using this extreme language to try to make it like, if we respond, then we're just so threatened. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.